Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for July 8th through 10th, 2020. How are you doing? Wow, what intense energies, and it just continues to be intense. And here we are. At least we're here together. I know that it doesn't feel that way a lot of times. Very interesting energies as we each individually have to make our way out of the box, out of the jack in the box, out of the container that we've allowed ourselves to be put in over lifetimes in this human evolution. And that place that you need to go to in that box is alone and it's dark. And that's just before you break through out of this lower matrix. But just know that this Mercury retrograde in Cancer is just bringing us deep into this place of loneliness, of isolation, of because it's like, Venus is now coming out of the shadow of the retrograde, but bringing forward these feelings. And now we've got Mercury retrograde really on the table in Cancer with that Capricorn full moon, just exploding these issues of whether or not we can receive. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about receiving the higher timelines. We're talking about receiving what we need to thrive here in this world, and we're running out of choices. We can, there's just this feeling of like, okay, I can stay in the old, but I'm just going to kind of just gradually, wither and die. Or I can move to the new, but how do you even do that from this place of this box? And we're being asked to be Houdini right now. And we're being asked to remember that as SuperNova Souls, you have gone through initiations and training and all kinds of stuff to help you in this time right now. And so this is an initiatory experience that we're going through right now. And you can go as a group, but when it comes to that final place where you say yes to who you are and your bigger self, and you say yes to the higher timelines, and you say yes to your true spiritual purpose, your true spiritual light, which nobody around you, just by design right now, for the most part, SuperNova Souls, nobody around you can really even recognize or validate. Now, this is the core energy issues of this Mercury retrograde in Cancer for the supernova soul. Supernova souls have been programmed with low self-worth. It's kind of across the board, and it's like deep subconscious programming that doesn't make a lot of sense when we try to figure it out with our everyday mind. But this is a fact that I just keep coming up against, and it's on the table right now so much with this Mercury, that solar eclipse in Cancer, Mercury retrograde in Cancer. And then we're going to continue with these issues because Venus moves into Cancer, when it comes out of a Gemini next month. So it's on the tail. At least Venus will be moving right along, right? She's starting to move. She's coming out of her retrograde experience, and at the last week of July is when she comes out of her retrograde shadow. But these issues are on the table. It's like, did you get the message of the North Node in Cancer? Because how can you get anywhere without receiving? So these supernova souls have been programmed with deep, intense energies of low self-worth. This comes from being a very sensitive soul, going through so much to bring your light here, to squeeze yourself into this lower paradigm, to deal with this intense energies of the slower matrix, and then be rejected by the earth, right? So the deal is that then these supernova souls have a huge inability to receive. And what it's really about is you receiving. And it's like, why can't I just let in the good things, and you can almost sense and feel as you go through this process of like, oh, there it goes. And why can't I just be like everybody else who can just live their life and just receive the blessings, right, that are there? And this is a deep, intricate, and profound mystery that holds the key to everything. And maybe that's why we're having this Cancer bloom and it's not comfortable. But your lack of ability to receive the blessings and the higher timeline and the higher vibrations into your life has to do with you being rejected again and again in your light. Like, you don't even get to exist. It's not about not having what you need even. It's about not even being welcome to exist. Your existence, your living, breathing presence and your truth is a threat to the lower matrix. Okay? So lifetime after lifetime, you've been treated as such. And so for us to wait around for the people around us, the lower karmic relationships in this world to receive us in our light is never going to happen. And that's this crossroads that the SuperNova soul is at. And it's interesting how it's coming up with the SuperNova soul tribe. So much energies of being like, oh no, not my group. Oh no, it's not. I don't have a group. It's just, it doesn't, and it's like, this is exactly the issue, and it's time for us to stop messing around and put on our big boy panties, and like do the work and show up and be present. Be that I am presence. Now, this is an intense and powerful energy that's coming forward, some frustration around and a buildup of pressure around these issues as Mars is going to come into a conjunction with Chiron. We're just starting to feel that. And it's going to go through the middle of the month. It's exact on the 14th, 15th, right at the middle of July. It's kind of like a crux point and so intensely powerful because it's like an activation of our warrior self, our warrior for the I am presence, our warrior for the spiritual truth that we have been hiding, suppressing, disconnected ourselves from in order to survive in this lower matrix. And now we're at this weird place where the lower matrix is getting so intensely painful, especially as like, it's just like, oh, this feeling of you're doing your spiritual work, you're showing up, you're clearing your karma, it's been like so much work in this lifetime. And ironically, the more of that clearing work you do, the more sensitive and refined you become as your true spiritual nature, and the more painful this world gets. And it's like you're the only one who's feeling it, It's like everybody's just kind of cruising around doing their thing. It's like, don't you feel the, And this is where the trap, right, for these souls, because, it's like because you feel it and you sense it and you're aware of it, you feel like you're supposed to fix it. And this goes right along with this low self-worth, energy, failure. You got off your mission, you got to make up for something. And the energy is right now, the message is like, we are not here to fix the broken. It's like too broke. There's a point when you can fix it. And we do live in a throwaway world, so it's hard. We want to fix our things and not create more garbage, right? But we're kind of living in a garbage dump right now, and there's no fixing it. And so we have to bring in the new. You're here to bring in the new. And yet you won't receive the new, right? So what do we do? Now it's really interesting that I think this is a crux, a turning point, and you do have to go into the dark corner. You have to go into the isolation. You have to go into that box you've been put in. And like, in order to get out, right? But know you have the tools, know you have the support, know that everything in this whole reality right now is working for your spiritual activation. This lower realm, keeping you in the box. But you know how much energy is being put into keeping us in the box? And when, and like that old toy, Jack in the Box, and you like push him back down and then you turn the crank and he pops out, right? And it's like, that's what we're doing. We're like turning the crank, we're getting activated. Oh, like have a moment of that higher timeline, that I am, this zest of life that's available, the truth of who we are. And then the force is just, but so much energy and resources is going into that. And they're running out of resources. They're running out of cards to play, the lower matrix, the lower control energies, and, but we ourselves, where are we allowing ourselves to be put back into that box again and again? And you'll find it. You know, like if you pay attention, as soon as you start to feel better and you kind of are like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can breathe, right? And then it's like, boom, something will come along and just slime you right back into that box, you know? And that's just kind of the place we're at right now. But we know that there's massive forces of awakening happening. This Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is an influx of light into our world. And we're being asked to receive it and hold it, to be that container, except for we're too busy battling the box, you know? But this is changing but it's very interesting because Mercury is Venus retrograded back to 5 degrees. Mercury is retrograding back to 5 degrees. Mercury turns direct. We've got less than a week. This is a very crucial moment in time for you to be Houdini and get yourself out of the box, okay? Because it's very powerful that Venus went back to 5 degrees, Mercury is going back to 5 degrees, and then we've got Jupiter, Pluto exact for these next few days through the 9th, at 23 degrees. And 2 and 3, if you add it up, is 5, even though they're both retrograde. This is just this strange juxtaposition where it appears that everything's going de-evolving and pushing us into the corner and pushing us back into our box. But the truth is that there's massive spiritual energies coming in, massive light coming in. Nothing can stop it. It's so much more powerful than any of the stories of this lower world. And I have to tell you that those stories that are holding us all in the box, holding us in the lower matrix, these are trauma patterns that have been overlaid the earth. And they're on the table right now. It's just like Ghost Fest with souls that are stuck, that are clinging to this trauma pattern, you know, and we have to look at that within ourselves too. You know, it's like safer to stay in the box in the trauma pattern because at least you know that. And so much programming around if you get out of the box, you know, so much fear programming around spiritual ascension and awakening that it'll hurt you, it'll hurt your body, you'll have to die, you'll be all alone. That's part of it. Very powerful programming. And so here we are. But this is intense because like, whoa, let's just pay attention to this, right? The 5 degrees, going back to 5 degrees, Jupiter, Pluto in retrograde, exact at 23 degrees. Now, 5 is a number of the spoke on the wheel. Let's get some stuff moving. It's also Christ consciousness. It's like right in the middle. It is that place where you get to this spiritual awakening, where you're living a human life and then you realize your spirit, right? Activating, powerful movement also can cause disruption. You find out where the wagon is broken. You find out where you've got cracks in your codes or whatever. Like it's like when the light comes in, it's going to illuminate the darkness. And we're just right there at this very uncomfortable place. But Mars, who's going on a retrograde in later in the year, moving into retrograde shadow at the end of this month, but first coming into a conjunction with Chiron. And this is the warrior, you know, it's like an activation of the warrior. And it's like, pull yourself up, get out of that trauma. That is not who you are. You are the I am presence. You are so big. You are so powerful. That is what you came here to be. And yes, this world rejected you. And yes, there was no room for you. And yes, you were persecuted for that light and for that devotion and for that dedication. But it's time for the warrior to come back home. And the warrior to get out of that trauma body and be in the spiritual presence that you came here to be. And of course, that breakthrough would require some deep squeezing, some deep darkness, some deep corners. And that's where we've been. And a lot of people are feeling like, I'm never getting out of this. Like the last card that the Matrix plays with you is you have to die, right? It says you can't live here. This is the Chiron and Aries, right? Like you in your big light and you as a spiritual presence and you with all of this work you've done over many evolutions as a spiritual ascender, you know, as somebody who understands what we're really doing here, you cannot live in this world, right? And so this is so many souls over this last period of time have taken their own lives. And that creates, this is part of the trauma body energy where, these souls are asking for our help. And it's a heavy energy where it's like, but the programming, the purpose of that monster, of this dark infection on the earth is to pull you back into the lower vibrations. Simply put, pull you back into the lower vibrations and to make you think that your life isn't worth living, that you cannot live in this world, you can't survive here because it's like so uncomfortable. And that's your ticket out of the lower matrix. And it feels like a ticket to hell. And that's the thing where it's like, we're supposed to be living, not in a death, like the death process, hanging out with stuck souls, but this is where those loyalty contracts come in. And it's like, ooh, just this big blooming of this nasty sickness that's related to trauma, addiction, and persecution of these souls and persecution of the light. And it's like, come back into the darkness with us. It's the only place you'll be comfortable, except for that you've done so much work now, you can't be comfortable there anymore. So what are you going to do? And the only way to get out of the box is to go deeper into the corner of the box and completely find that warrior within you and understand this is an initiatory experience. And you've already gone through multiple initiations. You know this. A big part of our way out of the box is, even though we don't feel connected, working on the astral plane with those ascended masters, with our soul group, it's like we've got a ship right now and we're trying to get this ship. The sail has been broken and the mast is damaged and there's no rudder. And we've got to somehow get a handle on this ship and start using the winds of spirit and inviting it back to inviting our God self back in order to steer this ship in the right direction. Now, then again, we come back into this, a big part of this shift that's holding back, or a big part of what's holding back the SuperNova souls in this shift is this feeling like, oh, I got to fix it. I got to save the souls. I got to, and then it's kind of like, how do I dismantle? How do I get out of these old timelines? And the answer is no, it's not about that. The light coming in is dismantling. The light coming in is healing. The light coming in is moving us. And it's so intensely powerful. And so we're definitely having this reorientation with Venus coming out of retrograde in Gemini, and we're being asked to reorient ourselves, our identity, to our I am presence, to the spiritual part of ourselves that's so much more real than any of this garbage. So we dismantle the lower timelines by putting our attention, our energy, and our presence with the higher timelines. And of course, then we come right back to, going around in circles because you can't receive it, right? Because you don't deserve it, because you're not good enough, because nobody around you recognizes you. So you can't receive your light. And this is just like, this is a SuperNova soul backed into the corner because you're just about to break free. So, wow. And the other thing that's happening around the same time as this Mars conjunct Chiron, and Mercury is turning direct, and the sun is coming into a trine with Neptune, which is really powerful after that retrograde, the Mercury retrograde sun square Chiron. And so this energy is kind of saying, yes, it is a reorientation towards the spirit, towards source, towards God, towards the light. And it's a very harmonizing energy of going like, where am I going? What am I doing? I don't know any of these people. Where I'm all alone in this strange land, you know. And the sun, trying Neptune, is saying, no, no, here you go, honey. Here you go. Just focus on the light. Just be the light. Just get your warrior self going. Know that you have everything within you to succeed in this initiation process. And the initiation process is about receiving the light that you are and being that spiritual warrior, and pick yourself up out of the trauma bodies and understand that there's multitudes of levels of energy and resources going in to keep you in the box. And that works. You know, the picture I'm getting is that if we're one by one jumping out of the jack is jumping out of the box, then they can come and put us back in if we all go at the same time. And that's the deal. It's like, you know it right now by what we're being shown, and the energies, so heavy on the planet right now. But there's more ascended beings and light workers and those who have gone through spiritual ascension numerous times. There's more than ever embodies on the planet. Like beings who are completely don't need to be here at all are here right now for this, squeezing themselves into this lower paradigm to experience this and to be a part of this, you know? So what we're being shown and what we see and what we feel is not the truth at all. You know, and it's logical. It's like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. But we're just still being pulled into those, and the purpose is to unravel these patterns, you know, and free ourselves from the stories of who we thought we were. And it's a death process. And maybe that's why we're hanging out with ghosts right now. We want to save the ghosts. We want to clear up the earth. We want to clean it up. It's like, how can this continue to go on? Because you, as a refined, advanced souls, getting so uncomfortable, right? And that's where you're like, oh, I'm not here to fix the broken. Take it to the dump. I'm here to bring in the new. And that starts right here, right now, when you say yes. And we're being given a huge opportunity to have that breakthrough with this Mars conjunct Chiron happening at the middle of the month, right on the heels of Mercury turning direct, right? And the sun in trine to Venus, a reorientation towards our higher self, of our identity, our spiritual identity. Beautiful, beautiful energies coming through. Mystical revelation available with that sun trine Neptune. So it's shifting and it's changing. And maybe, you know, make the most of the dark black corner that you're in right now. And you know, take this opportunity to grab a hold of that, the light that you are, that never went out, but you were disconnected from it and told by everybody around you that that wasn't the way to be, you know? So now you got to be the rebel. Mars is the rebel. Mars wants freedom. Mars wants to fight for what's right and good and true. Our divine masculine coming in and kind of cradling that inner child and saying, come on, get up, let's go. We got stuff to do here, right? Whew. So, wow, what an intense and powerful time. And I'm so glad that we're together. And thank you so much for your support for this energetic work, being a part of the SuperNova Soul Tribe. Amazing group of souls. And I can't wait to see what happens as we move forward on this ship together. So hang in there. And I look forward to seeing you for the next update on Friday. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.